Hello and welcome back. Let's catch up with Rails 4. In the previous lesson, we covered the topic of live streaming, and today we're going to introduce Turbolinks. So what is exactly Turbolinks? The concept was inspired by Basecamp, in the way that the team at 37 Signals had to come up with a solution to optimize their assets. So they've come work with this gem that allows you to do what I'm about to explain. Before Turbolinks existed, you had the traditional way of doing requests. Let's suppose you have a homepage and then you have a link inside that points to blog. This would allow you to visit the blog page. So if you did that, a normal request would hit the server and you would get a new response. This response would be fully served to the browser. So the previous page would disappear and you would have simply the blog page. Turbolinks works in a slightly different way. Suppose you have the same homepage and then you want to click on a link that points to blog, somewhere inside the navigation. So you point the request to blog and then a new server response is retrieved to you. This is where Turbolinks comes in. It parses the title and the entire body from the response. Remember that the response comes via AJAX and not via a normal request, so the title and the body are parsed and they are merged with the current page that you already have. This way you stick with the page, with all of the assets, and simply the title is updated, as well as the body. In a nutshell, this is what Turbolinks does. It retrieves pages via AJAX, parses the body and the title, and it merges back into your previous page. So what is the benefit of all this? The example before was really simple. I just wanted to show you what resources were being updated. Well, what about those assets that are not updated? That's exactly the point of Turbolinks. All of the assets that you had, CSS, JavaScripts, and all that sort of stuff, stays inside the page, and you don't need to request for them any longer. This way you can get up to 3 times faster applications, solely based on the fact that you don't need to request for all of the CSS and JavaScript files over and over again. You simply retrieve one page, and you don't need to retrieve anything else. A simple request, a single response handling. That's why the gem was created. So let's get down to business. I have the same application in 2 different folders. One of them has Turbolinks enabled, and the other one does not. Let's start with the last one, the one you used to have without Turbolinks. I'm going to type Rails server so that I can boot the instance and see what it looks like. Okay. In the browser we have this content. It looks really simple and it looks like it doesn't waste so much bandwidth, does it? Well, now that you come and think of it, if we open the web inspector and go to the network tab, let's reload the page so that we can see what the results are. And here, even though we are in development mode, we have 11 different resources. Ideally, in production, this would come short to just 3, perhaps 5 at most if you have other services you want enabled. However, even in development mode, we should consider this. This is a direct hit to the server, and it should simply retrieve all these different requests. They were not modified, but still they have been made, to see if they were modified or anything. Now, if I try, for example, and click New Post, you see that all of the requests have been made. Even though they haven't been modified, they are still made. So Turbolinks intends to mitigate this, what seems to be a problem. Let's see an example with Turbolinks enabled. I'm going to close the browser, and I'll go to the demonstration with Turbolinks enabled. So now I've switched folders, and now I'm inside the example with Turbolinks enabled. I'll open the Rails server once again, but this time for the application that does have Turbolinks. So now I'll visit the post URL again, and you see that the exact same content is being displayed. Let's open the web inspector, reload the page, and you see that we have all sorts of different assets being downloaded. You see all these CSS, all this JavaScript, all tangled up. But watch closely as I press the New Post button. You see what happened there? There's a new page being downloaded. It's a single markup file, and it has been initiated by Turbolinks. What does this mean exactly? Well, it means that Turbolinks captures every single link in the page and retrieves the content of that page. And like I told you, it fetches the body and the title for that page and updates the content accordingly. If I go back, you see that nothing is pulled through. The push state feature of Google Chrome, as well as every other modern browser, allows you to switch places without performing a single request. If I go and edit this custom flash type post, you see that there's only one request being made. Let's go ahead and go back to the list of posts. The list of posts is retrieved via AJAX and the content is updated accordingly. So what are the differences between using Turbolinks and not using it? I'm going to answer that now. The first step to activate Turbolinks is to have the Turbolinks gem in the gem file. The Turbolinks gem comes enabled by default in all Rails 4 applications, and so you don't need to do anything. If, however, you don't want to use Turbolinks, you'll need to comment this line, like this. The next step is to go to the app assets JavaScript's application.js file and require Turbolinks, like this. But if you don't want Turbolinks enabled, you'll simply need to delete this line. And that's it. Disabling Turbolinks is only a couple of steps away. So what is the catch really? You thought this wouldn't come without a catch? Well, you were mistaken. Turbolinks has been very contested because of the way it changes front-end development. Normally you're used to have the document.ready method. For example, if you have something like this, for example, in your code, then you might be in trouble. You see, doing this is the same as doing document and then calling the ready function. So you pass a function here, and then you would work the code in here. This relies on a state that you will never have to face again. Well, at least for GET requests. When you're using Turbolinks, the ready trigger for document is only triggered once, when you go directly to a URL in the address bar. All of the remaining links push a new request via AJAX and don't request a page refresh. And so every single piece of code that uses this notation will not work. You'll have to be very wise when declaring your bindings and when to remove them. There are a couple of workarounds for this situation. If you have an application that uses this a lot, then you can use the jQuery.turbolinks URL. Let's check out the Turbolinks GitHub page. If you check the README, you have a specific topic on that. You might want to check out the jQuery.turbolinks library by Cosno Corp and follow the instructions. If you install this library, it will trigger the ready state whenever the page load event is triggered. Aside from jQuery Turbolinks, you have this special chapter on events. You see the events topic here that explains how Turbolinks registers 4 new different types of triggers: the page fetch, load, restore, and change. Each of them represents a single situation on Turbolinks. The fetch event is triggered when Turbolinks starts to fetch the page that we want. The load event is triggered when the page is fetched. The restore event is triggered when a particular page is being retrieved from the cache. Not from the server, but from the browser, the client side. And finally, the change event, which is triggered when the page has in fact changed. The content has been updated in the DOM. So this page load event is the one that's used by jQuery.turbolinks. When this event is triggered, the ready event is also triggered. And so all the libraries that you used to have may be run once again. Although this might be true and rather lovely, it does have a catch too. You need to be careful about constantly instantiating new bindings. For example, if you have a library that relies constantly on registering heavy bindings to any element, you might want to be careful with that, because every time you request a new page and you trigger the ready event, the other one that you had stays there, and you might have memory leaks, as well as duplicate or unwanted behavior. Be sure to check the libraries you use. They should consider something like this. So that is it on Turbolinks. It looks like a big deal, and it is, but the effort of installing it and configuring it is really small. I hope you have enjoyed the content today. In the next lesson, we'll take a look at the dynamic index.html page. I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.